there's going to be a point in this interview, and I can't remember if it's coming up right now, where Charlemagne the God asked Umar what he's doing. Why don't you put some money up? How much are you ready to put up right now to ensure the ongoing success of HBCUs? And what Umar Johnson says is, he's starting a school as well. He's been starting the school for the better part of 10, 12 years, but I digress. He's starting a school himself. And the school he's starting he's saying, that's what I'm giving back. I'm keeping kids from the school to prison pipeline. You'll hear how he says it, because I can't think of it right now. I got a brain fog. He'll say that, but he'll say that that's enough for him to do, but he won't give the same latitude to Deion Sanders. He won't give the same latitude to any rich person, as you'll see as this interview goes on. So just keep that in mind.
Us out for money, bro.
How can you say it's about money when when his track record shows
he stayed for 3 years? That was no commitment. His track record shows that if white people give me the money, I'll turn my back on the HBCU system. What are you talking about? That's what he did.
I disagree.
That's what he just did.
I disagree.
Come on, man. If he would have stayed there, if Deion would have stayed there, like I said, he could have brought other black coaches in, former NFL greats. They would have raised the revenue of the HBCU, which is so critical now. Why? Because the Asians are being financed by white folks to kick what little blacks are left on the PWI campus off. So that means the critical importance of the HBCU is greater now than it's ever been. So for Deion to pull this right now makes it even worse, because you're leaving the HBCU system when you had a chance.
So how many lashes for Deion?
Stop.
Okay. When we get to that clip, and it's like one half of me agrees with some of the things that Umar is saying, but not the point that he's making. He's trying to, again, make the point that Deion Sanders should have stayed. And he keeps going into the what about, well, this could have happened, and this could have happened if Deion Sanders stayed. But you know what? The possibility that we're not exploring, Dr. Umar, is that it might not have happened. Deion Sanders might have stayed at this HBCU for the last year on his contract. He only had one more year. He would have stayed for this last year on his contract, and it still would have been much the same. No other NFL greats would have come to try to help the HBCU. The only thing that would have happened is Deion Sanders would have let an opportunity pass him by. One of the things that at the beginning of his agreement with Jackson State that he said he would not do, he would not let an opportunity at a Power 5 school pass him by without entertaining it. He has entertained it. He has found himself that I have to take this position. It's better for me and my family, for whatever reason, for his ego, whatever reason. It was far more attractive for him to go to take that offer than it was to finish out this 1 year on his contract. And that doesn't mean that Deion Sanders is a piece of trash human being. It just means he's a human being. But where I do agree with Dr. Umar Johnson is that we can't let these HBCUs fall by the wayside because of the legislation that might basically gentrify Black students off of a college campus. So now if that piece of legislation goes through, these students will not make it to these college campuses. We need to have a safety net, and the safety net needs to be the HBCU. And we need to start making, as far as Black people are concerned, making more HBCUs first choice schools. Instead of, if I don't get in here, here, or here, then I'll go there.
To exempt Black celebrities from accountability to the race. Celebrities are not above accountability. Stop,
I agree. So how many lashes for Deion?
50,000 lashes for Deion.
Now, no. Shut up. More important question. How much you? No. How much you going to donate to an HBCU today?
I'm building 2 independent schools. The first in this history.
No doubt, but those aren't HBCUs. Whoa. If you're going to be that passionate about HBCUs, how much you going to donate to an HBCU
Let me answer your question. May I?
Yes.
First of all, I'm not a multi-millionaire. Second of all,
why you got to be a multi-millionaire?
Can I finish my question? Can I finish my question? I donate to HBCUs on a regular basis.
Okay.
I do. But my point is, I'm focused on destroying the school to prison pipeline. I'm building 2 independent schools from the ground. I
applaud you for that.
Black money. Nobody you've interviewed in this studio ever is doing that. Not one of them. You understand me? So I'm doing my part, and that's why I can expect Deion Sanders to do his part. And that's why lashes also go to Shannon Sharpe. because
now Shannon Sharpe enters the chat. This is what Shannon Sharpe said. By now, you've heard the news that Deion Sanders is leaving his post at Jackson State to become head coach at Colorado University. In the aftermath of his announcement, social media has been split on his decision, but one person who came to Deion's defense was his longtime friend, Shannon Sharpe. In the midst of defending Deion, the Hall of Famer who attended Savannah State University revealed that he wouldn't have chosen to attend an HBCU if he had better grades. That tweet in particular has a number of SSU and other HBCU grads in an uproar. This is the exact tweet. Shannon Sharpe said, I went to an HBCU, but only because I was Prop 48. It worked out great for me. Had I had the grades coming out of high school, I wouldn't have chosen an HBCU. So, and he also said, what about doing what's best for him and his family? That's what you would do. We ask others to do what we would never do. So Shannon Sharpe hurt some feelings, right? By saying, hey, I was Prop 48. I would have had to sit out a season, red shirt, all this stuff. The only reason I went to an HBCU is because I fucked around in high school and my grades were not up to par. So the only place that would have me was an HBCU, basically. Okay. At this point, despite his best efforts, the damage from Shannon Sharpe's tweet had already been done. An HBCU gave Shannon Sharpe a chance when he used to live in a shack and got the nerve to insinuate that he settled for them. Very wild. That was from Grammy songwriter Loading. And then G wrote, Shannon Sharpe can go ahead and take graduate of Savannah State University out of that Twitter bio. Embarrassing man. Absolutely disgusting, embarrassing. And Candace Marie Benbow said, Shannon always seeks to be a voice, championing Black lives in his platform, yet he reinforces the very notion so many of us have to fight against, that Black colleges are inferior. And even if he didn't mean that, and she says, I don't think he did, don't deflect from what you said. Be very clear. Shannon Sharpe doesn't get to the NFL, doesn't get on ESPN without Savannah State. I believe he knows that and is a proud alum, which is why he ain't have to throw his alma mater under the bus just to defend Deion, doing what everyone knew Deion was going to do. I honestly, I'll save my complete feelings on the other side, but still, Shannon Sharpe still went back on Fox Show Undisputed and he still said, let's be excited for Deion Sanders. He gave JSU 3 great years, 2 SWAC championships, a new football facility, and a blueprint of what they can become. 3 days after his comments and Deion's official announcement, Shannon is still on social media defending the claim. Nothing to defend, Dave. What about what primetime wants for he and his family? And, you know, that great Savannah State education is not being put to use here because he wants for himself and his family, not he. Anywho, Shannon Sharpe also said, SSU was great for me, and when I had a chance to leave, I didn't. How you took an HBCU wasn't my first choice for college as a slight is beyond me. That's your choice how you read. God, it's so hard to read this. Shannon Sharpe also said to a person, Imani McElroy, MD, she said the self-hatred and internalized racism is the primary driving factor of at Shannon Sharpe's disdain for HBCUs. Hate to see it. Shannon Sharpe said, "Dum-dum, I'm a graduate of an HBCU. You've come to the conclusion because HBCU wasn't my first choice, I have disdain for them. That's utterly ridiculous." I can agree with that. It's like it's not one of those that has to be one or the other. There are many different ways that you could have read what Shannon Sharpe said, but just taking it out of context, it sounds like a diss. But when he puts a little more context to it, he says it wasn't my first choice, but he said it was great for him. I can give him a pass on not being more clear what he meant right out the gates, but that SSU education should tell you that you need to clarify what you're saying when you're saying it. Shannon Sharpe also said, from an educational stand, HBCUs are on par with PWIs, but from a facilities and resources standpoint, it's not close. Stop trying to pretend it is, it isn't. That was in response to Lord Bulls saying, we don't, because he's comparing an HBCU to poverty. Would you live in the neighborhood you grew up in? Wouldn't be asked to a person who grew up in Calabasas. It's only asked to those who grew up poor. He's basically comparing HBCUs to poor neighborhood. So Mr. Sharpe still isn't slowing down, and he's still responding to anyone taking issues with the comments. In one of his most recent tweets, he denied that what he said was rooted in self-hatred and internalized racism. So that was